we're gonna track a term up here as well. So we're gonna have two different term states. We're gonna have the term at the higher level, and we're gonna have a term at the lower level. Now, why? The key here is that we're not synchronizing these two, right? But the term at the parent level is going to be what's the actual search term in use right now, right? So like, what did I use to search for my previous results that are being displayed right now? And the term at the header level is going to be what's actually in the search bar, because you don't actually want to search on every single key press, right? You want to wait until they hit enter. Now they're actually searching, right? So that they're going to be desynchronized on purpose. So let's evaluate that, and then I'll retouch like why that is. Oh, cool. We got plenty of time. So term, there we go. So now we need a method called search. So we're going to do search term. Okay, this dot set state. Term. I think that would work with the new ES6, right? We'll give it a shot. So rather than having to do term, right? With ES6, it can be, you can just say term, and you say, I have a variable named term, and I want it to be also be named term. Please do so, right? So just shorthand. But yeah, totally equivalent to that. Okay, and then we're going to do just an omdb.search query term, and then we're going to use a arrow function again. This dot set state results data.search. Make sure that S is capitalized, because I don't know why they named it that way, but they did. Okay, so is anyone confused on arrow functions still? Is that worth retouching, or people for the most part got it? Okay. Arrow functions are awesome. Okay, and now we just need to pass that down to header so header can actually use it. So we're going to do search equals this dot search dot bind this. Please make sure you put bind this, because context is important. Again, if you're writing React today with like React version 12 and you're using the old notation, the ES5 notation, this bind is not necessary, because React just does it for you. It assumes, oh, hey, you're passing a function down. You probably want to bind that. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's see. Make sure everything. So let's go back to header real quick. Save that. Go back to header. And we have to do handle term submit. Okay, take in the E. Now, if you recall from ever being super annoyed by HTML forms, if you do not prevent default, they will try and refresh the page. So please prevent default, or you're going to have a bad time. And then in there, you're just going to put this dot props dot search. Yeah, this dot state dot term. Yep. Okay, and then you're also going to do, this is just from a UI perspective, you're going to clear out term so that the input will clear itself out, right? Because someone's going to search for something, you want to like validate, like, yes, I did something. So you clear out the search box, it passes it up. So yeah, just kind of a UI thing. Okay, on submit. On the form. And you're going to say this dot handle term submit dot bind this. Working in React makes you like really cognizant of how JavaScript context works. It's a good thing. Okay, so refresh. Maybe. Okay, so no, no. Okay, so I'm getting 403 forbiddens. Eat. Okay, there we go. So, we got our normal things. So let's try searching for like Tron, right? Yeah, now we're seeing new data. So you'll see the fake movie posters for shows that do not have posters, right? Like for example, Tron Legacy has a poster, Tron 2.0 doesn't. So I threw in some like random photoshops from Reddit. So, cool, right? I think it's cool. Any questions, concerns about that? Just things not working? Yeah. What's I can't hear you. Yeah, if you get if you're using a fake client, it'll just give it back to you in random order. That's a good point to make. Yeah, I wanted to make so you had something, right? But in fact, I can even show you. I think it just actually is a drop-in. So if you do this with this, so if I do anything in here, it'll just randomize and yeah. And just give them back to you in some sort of random order. Right? Cool. Yeah.
How would you represent the loading state between requests?
That's a good question. So obviously we're doing like an asynchronous, JavaScript request. How would you represent them as loading? So what you'd probably do is you'd keep tracking your state. You'd have like a loading flag. You'd load me true or false. If true, show a spinner. If false, show the actual data. And then when they call the submit event, you'd say loading true, and then inside of like the body where it's like the data came back, you just set loading to false. That make sense? Yeah. Really easy. Anyone else? I saw another hand. Probably just my own. Okay. So let's also implement just real quick a clear event. So let's go back to header real quick. Header, clear event. So we're going to do handle clear event. Okay. And we're going to say this.props.clear term. Again, making up my own API as I go. I will implement clear term here in just a sec. Oh, actually, I promised you that I would go over why I have like 3 different terms going on at once. So let me just briefly retouch on that. So, number 1, the term that is local to this search box. So now I have like, let's say Tron in there right now, right? I have Tron, and that is the state of the header's term, right? But that is not the state of what it's actually been searched for. That's the term for the whole app. That make sense? And then now I'm going to hit enter. Okay. Now the term for the header is empty string, and the term for the whole app is Tron. So they're similar. They're kind of used together, but they are not synchronized. Okay. I was going to go back here and change this to be back to the real client. Okay. So let's go back to clear. We're doing it on header. We have a clear event. So we're going to do another conditional up here. So if there's a search term that's currently had been searched for, we're going to not display it anymore. We're just going to display the term that has been searched for. So we're going to say var search box. Okay? And we're going to say if this dot props dot term search box equals h3 class name equals ep header term. Okay? Inside of here, we're going to have this dot props dot term, right? And then we're just going to put in a little link next to it of like an X that you can click to clear out the term. So A, on click, just like an on submit or an on change. This is if they click on it. This dot handle clear event dot bind this. Yeah, we'll leave that off. Okay. Sorry? Close parentheses in the if state. Oh, yeah. That means I probably have an errant one somewhere. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, and then I need the little I class name equals fa times, because it looks like a little like multiplication sign, right? It's an X. Okay. And then we have to close the A. There we go. Else. And then we're just going to yank this form out and say search box equals not what I meant to do. There we go. Okay, so search box. If there is a term, if I'm being provided a term that's real from my parent, please show the term with a cancel ability. If I have no term from my parent, which means nothing has been searched for, please show the form so that they can actually search for a term. That branching logic hopefully makes sense. Okay, now we actually have to put that on the form. So underneath the select, we left with a space where the form would be. We can just say search box, right? Because that's going to correspond to this. Okay. So now we actually have to go implement clear term real quick. So save that, go to index.jsx. We have to do one here called clear term. Okay, and all you have to do is this dot set state term, and then we still want results, right? Like we still want those to be there. So we're actually just going to lift this thing right here, this clone right here. So we're going to say results clone preload.search, right? This is just going to give us back the Netflix originals results that we had in the first place. And again, just to recap, the reason why I'm cloning that instead of just passing in preload.search, it would work, but then it's passed by reference because it's an object. So then you would actually start modifying that object itself. So the next time you try to put it back in, it wouldn't actually change because the object would be modified. So they would both be pointing at the same thing, the same object. Okay, Save. Oh, and then we have to pass it down as well. So clear term equals this dot clear term dot bind this. Okay, let's give it a shot, see if it works. So refresh, search for Tron, and a broke. Yeah, why did it break? Did I not pass down term? I didn't pass down term, that's why. Term equals this dot state dot term. This is on the header, right? And then I also need to have a default one, which is already up there. Okay, so save that, come back over here. Okay, it's not loading right now, but you can see that the word's up there now, right? And you can still, now you can clear it out, right? Cannot read property search if null. It's probably because the thing's not working. Oh, there we go. Let's try it now. Tron, cancel it. Okay, something I forgot to mention. Come back here, go to header, go to this A. If you don't give it an href, it's not going to inherently have the pointer, right? So I have to give it like a pound thing, which is lame. Okay. So just to illustrate what I'm talking about, I just put in header on the A that surrounds the times icon. Right, do that. Right now you don't get a pointer right there. It's just the same thing. But now if I refresh it, okay, now it's actually a pointer. Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. Uh-huh.
I think of that as a reusable component. It seems odd to me that there is consumer code inside my event handler. So the handler terms of it, for example, has this.props.search.
Has a what, sorry?
It has a call to this.props.search,
Uh-huh.
which is implemented in the parent component.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. So he's saying he's asking me, so we're trying to make things as reusable as possible and as self-contained as possible, right? So it seems kind of weird that you would rely on the app component to do the searching as opposed to just doing it inside of the header. And the reason why that is because if you go here, yeah, this is actually doing the searching in the header, but what's consuming the search results? It's the movie list, or the list of movies, right? So if you actually store the state in the header, you can't get at them inside, like for it to just actually display the movie list. Does that make sense?
Sounds like a use case for something you described earlier as event emitters. This seems like a disconnected component. Or components cannot really parent-child, but kind of connected, but not in a parent-child.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Flux exists, right? Like that's exactly the problem that Flux solves. It's because you event out an event saying, hey, I got results. Flux says like, okay, I got that. I'm going to put it in a store. And then your list of movies says, hey, I need movies. Please give them to me. Gets them back. So when you hear the term Flux around, that's exactly what it's for. Good question. Any other questions? Cool. Well, we got 20 minutes, so we're gonna fly through server-side rendering real quick. We built the whole app. This is the whole client-side app that you see before you. So, good job. This is, that's all the React really that you need to at least know.
Is there an easy way to see what attributes a component expects? Just props or hidden in your function?
Yeah, is there an easy way to see what props in a component expects. Docs, I mean, you make documentation. Yeah, there's no programmatic way to really know as far as I know. Yeah.
You can use prop types on the component, and that'll actually throw an error when you try and use it. If you don't give it a property effective.
Yep. No, that's actually exactly right. I hadn't thought of that. So there's something called prop types, which I explicitly did not try and teach you because it's just one more layer of complexity. You can say like, hey, I have or no, that's not a bad name for it. Let's say like is half is a required component. You say this is a prop type Boolean and is required, right? And if it's not a Boolean, it throws an error. If it's not there, it throws an error. So, good call. Anyone else? Yeah. Stretching. Not stretching. Yeah. 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 Does it work the same way in ES6? I think so. I actually haven't done it, so I haven't actually broken it. That's how I figure things out. So I think it works the same though. Okay, let's dive into server-side rendering. It's a lot of fun. So hopefully you've been able to npm install the requirements. I guess React wouldn't be working if you hadn't, so go team. So big key here. You need either Node version 12, and you have to use the Harmony flag, or you need IOJS. One of the two. I'm going to be using IOJS 1.6. Okay. So it's only like 20 lines, and we have to kind of knock it out all at once, or the whole thing breaks. So it's just a lot of like code vomit all at once, and then we'll go through line by line to get it. So, if you would, please open, not in the JSX folder, the app.js in the empty file. Anyone having any trouble find that? Okay. So, first thing, we're going to be using ES6 notation, and then we're going to be requiring files that do use ES6 notation. So we need to teach IOJS how to handle all of that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to require Babel/register. This is essentially giving Node the ability to read in dependencies that are written in ES6, or be able to transpile on the fly this ES6. Yeah? Good with that? Cool. Okay, now we just got to require like a whole slew of things. Var koa equals require koa. Again, this is very similar to Express, and actually for what we're going to use here, it's going to look almost the same as Express. Var route equals require koa-route. Var serve equals require koa-static. So let's go over these. Koa route is like, it's a router for Koa. So you can be able to say like, if they call /about, go to the about page, right? It's that routing ability to say like, or if they post here, please post this to the database, kind of thing. Static is hopefully what you would imagine to be is it's just a static file server. You say like everything in the public directory, please just serve in a normal way. Mount, require koa mount. This is saying like, I want you to be able to, how do I want to explain this? So I have like the /fa, which is going to be font awesome, right? But font awesome doesn't actually live at /fa, so I need to mount that right there, right? Like you're almost like symlinking, pretty close. Yeah? No? Okay, sorry. Something like that, though. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. React, hopefully you have by now figured out what React does. If not, I podium flip. Okay. Require Lodash. Just for, we're going to use it to do just a tiny little bit of templating. var fs equals require fs, which is, if you've done any amount of node development, this is for accessing the file system, right? So you can read files in and out. Okay, it's all of our requirements. Okay, so we're going to get base template, and it's going to be fs.read file sync /base template.html. This is going to read this file right here, base template. Just going to read it into memory and keep it in memory. That's all it's going to do. And then we're going to use this to template the body in here, right? I showed you before that we called in Lodash. This is Lodash templating language if you're not familiar. Or I guess it's technically underscore, but who's keeping track? Client app. So we're going to require in that app, right, that we wrote, which is in JSX/index.jsx, or you can just put that works too. Okay. We're going to create a new Koa instance. We're going to say app.use. Again, if you've ever done Express, this is the same way you do Express, and you could do this with Express if you wanted to. We're going to mount at /fa. I had to do this a little bit wonky because we're requiring in font awesome, but font awesome is really like fonts and not really JavaScript, but we're npm installing it, so you had to like mount it at a reachable location. So that's why that is the way it is. You probably actually wouldn't do it this way in like production. Just got to give it the path to get there. Font dash awesome. I messed something up, didn't I? Yep, I did. Mount should encompass serve, right? So you have app.use, right? And then you're saying, I want you to serve everything inside of node modules font awesome, but I want it to go, from the FA directory or from the FA URL. Okay, we're going to use that. We're going to use mount again, and we're going to mount at public. Serve ./public. Okay, and hopefully that's pretty obvious. Like, we have like a JS file, we have CSS, we have images, right? Just want to serve those out as people request them. App.use route.get. So whenever someone requests the home page, we're going to serve them the app pre-rendered. Okay, and if I had more time, I would tell you what generators are. But for the sake of brevity, let's forego that right now and just track down Kyle Simpson and interrogate him about what generators are. And he will lecture you and open your eyes to the great light, and you will be converted, and it will be wondrous. Okay. But they're a programming construct that allow you to run multiple functions in a row. It's a very oversimplified version. Okay, React.rendered. Anyway, all this to say is that we're telling Koa, it's like, hey, try this first. If this doesn't work, try this first. If this doesn't work, try this. And it's like, okay, well, I found a /, so this middleware matches, so I'm going to run this function. That's what's happening. Okay. bar rendered equals React render to string. And then you have to say React.create element client app. Okay, give me 1 sec. I will touch on this just one brief second. Let me just get it all actually written out. Underscore dot template. Base template. Body rendered. Yeah, that's inefficient, but whatever, it works for right now. Okay, app.listen on port whatever. I'm going to use 3000, but okay, so React render to string. I hope that's pretty obvious. Instead of like outputting to the DOM, it's going to just output a string, and then you're going to put your string inside of the template. That's everything that's happening right there, right? React.create element, we actually haven't seen that yet. We've seen create component, right? Well, we've seen creating ES6 classes, which the equivalent in the old syntax would be create component. We haven't seen create element, though. What this would be the equivalent of is client app, like that. And we have seen that before, right? We saw that in client app.jsx, right there, right? We saw that. So why are we doing that? Well, this isn't a JSX file, so this is actually not being run through the JSX interpreter, so we're just using the raw JavaScript way of doing it. So that's why. Okay? And then this .body, like most of you are probably used to seeing like rec.body, or sorry, requests, response, res.body, right? If you've done a lot of Node, that's what you're used to seeing right there. In Koa, instead of having res, you just use this. This corresponds to the response. Okay? Then we're doing a templating from Lodash. Yeah, it's not really, there's a million ways you could do it. I just chose to use Lodash because it's really simple. But all that's going to do is it's going to render the rendered right here, right? Whatever we created right here, and it's going to put it right here, right? Because we're saying put it where body is. Yeah? Do we follow? Does that make sense? Cool. A lot of moving parts, and so I'm trying not to leave anyone behind here. So, okay, so now we have to actually run it. So where am I? I am in ES React, so I need to go to empty and make sure I'm using the right version of Node. I am. If you're using like normal Node and not IO.js, you need to say node -- harmony app.js. You can also say that if you're in IO.js, Harmony just doesn't do anything. It's always in Harmony mode. So you could just say node app, and that would work too. Okay, so it's running. It's now listening on port 3000 or whatever port you put it on. So now we should be able to go to localhost 3000. And let's do something interesting. We're going to turn off JavaScript and refresh the page. So notice it's still rendering even without JavaScript. Now, notice that it's actually not pulling in the movies, right? Because when you do render to string, it doesn't actually do the component did mount part of the doesn't do the component of the life cycle, right? So the only thing it does is it does everything up until that point, and then it just spits it out and says, okay, the client can then take over and do everything else. But what's really cool about this, obviously it's very quick already being on our local machine, but what's cool is that when your person hits your site, they're going to get pre-rendered markup, and they're going to see this instantly, and then you're going to have like fancy spinners and say, hey, I'm loading things or whatever. Or maybe you have already like cached that API call, you already stuck it in there, and so they have a working website right away. Then React bootstraps, and then it takes over the page. It doesn't destroy anything, and it just like you're off and running. So the perceived time is like it goes from like a couple seconds to just like instant, right? Super duper fast. Okay, I covered a lot of things in like a very short amount of time. So, what kind of questions do you have about the node part of it? Yeah, way back there. What's that? Can't find Babel error. Is anyone else seeing that too? Oh, okay. Everybody. Okay. Can't find Babel. Let's see. Yeah, did you guys npm install?
No, it's not in the JSON file.
What's that?
Dash save it. It's not in the JSON file. In the repo.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I did that. My bad. Okay, so you'd have to have Babel. Hopefully, if you can get on the network right now, if you just did npm install Babel, that would take care of that problem. Dang it. Is Koa not in there? God damn it. Did you? I was freaking out about my presentation. I was too busy to look at pull requests. But thank you. That's exactly the right thing to do. Okay. So how else did I screw up? That's probably the next best question to ask. Or any other questions? Or concerns or obscenities. All those are fine at this point. Yeah.
Is there a good way to do the isomorphic rendering with data already?
Yeah. Is there a good way to do the isomorphic rendering or the server-side rendering with data? In this particular case, if I wanted to do it, I probably have like a job that would go out and request my like default load, put it into the cache, and then every single time I would just yank out of the cache, stick it in as a prop on the app, and then the app would be able to then take that data in as a default set of data, and then you would have a default set of data rendered already.
So like it's not trivial to, if you were to request the data from within the React app, then it's like you have to wait until the asynchronity comes.
Yeah, so he's asking if you did if you request the data before the component did mount, it would work, but the issue is that now you have a single point of failure tied to this external API. And your request would take a long time because your server would be waiting on another server to give it back data. Good question, though. Anyone else? All right. Let's see. What happened to Keynote? I guess Keynote crashed. Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.